Well, this, I would say, was like a teardown and then a rebuild.
Everybody buckle up, because Dan Campbell's not going anywhere.
I'm just tired, man. I'm exhausted by giving my heart and soul to this football team and this organization and having zero payoff. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, all bad. Because I look at what Seattle's doing. I saw Cincinnati go to the Super Bowl. If you are not and cannot get good quickly, then you don't have the right people in charge. But Braylon, I think it's appropriate to kind of flip the switch on this a little bit. Just moments ago, Sheila Hamp, the Lions owner, spoke to the media. It was only about a 4-minute session, and we will play some of that for you in just a little bit. But just the fact that the owner spoke to the media today, and I think this, as a member of the media, I think we're a conduit to the fans, right? And short of Sheila Hamp going on Twitter or Facebook or DetroitLions.com with a message to the fans, she stood there and took a few questions from the media, and I think that's appropriate. I think the Detroit Lions fans deserve to hear from their owner a very disappointing 1-5 start.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things and big problems for fans is that the ownership for the Forward and for the Detroit Lions organization, they haven't come in front of the podium. They haven't answered the hard questions. They haven't talked about bad moments and bad times. So that's something that's been a problem here in Detroit for some time. That's one of the things that we liked about Sheila that we saw last year is she was around the program when they were losing. She was around the franchise when they got their first win. Now here it is, 1-5, and you're like, I'm asking questions about Brad Holmes. Did Brad Mahomes make a mistake with some of his draft picks? Dan Campbell, is he a competent coach? Is he the guy that's going to be able to move this ship in the right direction? But you want to ask those questions to Sheila, and you want Sheila to be able to give you her thoughts. And the fact that she's in front of that podium, the fact that we'll see it, but the fact that she basically doubles down on her support of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, well, you know what? She answered the question. She is here. That's good to see for the Detroit Lions fan base.
Without further ado, do we have that, Maz? Where are we at with this?
We sure do. Fletcher's got it for us.
All
Sheila
right.
Hamp just a few minutes earlier, courtesy of Brad Galley of WXYZ.
You all well know our team is very young, and that's not an excuse. That's a fact. And, young players are going to make mistakes. So we've had some key mistakes that have cost us games. Hopefully we're not going to repeat those. Hopefully we learn. But it is a process, and, that's what it is. It's hard, and it's really hard to stay disciplined, I mean, no one hates losing more than I do, than my family does, but, it's just we got through it.
Where are you confident? What feels different about
Pardon me?
What feels different about this time? You guys have went through several rebuilds, but what gives you confidence that?
Well, this I would say was like a teardown and then a rebuild. I mean, we really had to take it down to the ground level, and it's been not only on the football side but across the organization. We've put in a lot of new talent at the top. I really believe in the top leadership in this organization, and I think we've got the people to do it, to carry this out. I think that's what's different.
Sure. One more, guys, one more. Why are you talking right now, and how long does this patience last? I think that's what people want to know.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, patience lasts, as I say, we've got a long way to go in this season. I wanted to talk to you guys because really talking to you, talking to the fans, and, everyone's frustrated. I'm frustrated, but again, I really believe in what we've got and what we're going to be. It just takes time.
Why are you confident that Dan Campbell is still the right coach for this operation right now when you look around the league and you see other rebuilds, with more success at this point?
Yes, well, what I really have confidence in is the process we went through in the first place when we hired Brad and Dan. It was extremely thorough, and we really believe we've come up with the right people. So, I can't comment on other teams' rosters or what they had in the first place. All I know is what we had and where we're going.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Neither one of them, their jobs are in jeopardy no matter what happens this season.
That's interesting. And I applaud Sheila Hamp for sitting there taking some questions. And it's funny towards the end there. It's like, okay, that's enough questions. Like, if I'm a billionaire, nobody's telling me when to stop taking questions, by the way. That's the worst thing. Don't tell me to stop taking questions,
but
right?
You also got to protect her from herself.
Yeah, right. Well,
it's embarrassing when you hear that.
It is kind of embarrassing. I think so.
Yeah, but if you're not someone that's always in front of the camera as it relates to answering the tough questions that are the Detroit Lions, and it's a billion questions you can ask and they all have different answers. If you're not equipped for that, you can get tripped up if someone doesn't have your back.
So what'd you make of some of the things she said? I thought one of the best questions to that effect, and I don't know who the reporter was, but he said, what is different about this group? We've seen rebuilds in the past. What's different about this group? Thought that was a really fair question.
I think it is a fair question. I think especially after how much hype there was around this team and how good things looked in the offseason, and then all of a sudden you get into the season and you stubbed your toe, for lack of a better word. You stubbed your toe a couple times over. So, what's different about this group than Quinn Trisha? What's different about this group than Jim Caldwell? And the list goes on. And that's a tough question for Sheila Hamp to answer. That's a tough question for us to handle. But at the end of the day, this is what we have. In so many words, I feel like Sheila Hamp is basically telling you, look, this is a decision I made. This is a decision that we stuck with in terms of a Dan Campbell, in terms of Brad Holmes, in terms of the draft picks that we've made. Look, rebuilding takes time. You guys say you're tired of rebuilding for 70 years. Well, you're going to do it right this time, and I think that's what she's saying. So what I took from it is everybody buckle up, because Dan Campbell's not going anywhere.
And we knew that,
and we knew
by
that.
the way.
Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. They're not getting rid of Brad Holmes, rightfully so. So we gotta like hunker down. We got to put our heels in the dirt, and we got to figure out what and how the Detroit Lions can get better and how fast they can get better. What are the moves that they can make right now to become a better team this season, not next season?
She said it's a complete tear down. You have to take it down to the studs, basically. And this is what Patricia and Quinn left the Lions with. They took a couple of great players and got rid of them, a few players, as a matter of fact. But then they bring back the same guys that they had last year. So when she says it's a complete teardown, it's not completely true. And I know they're draft picks now, and they got rid of Matt Stafford, obviously. That was their franchise. And you got to start over again with another number one pick in Jared Goff, a number one first guy taken off the board back in the day. But it's not a complete teardown if you're bringing back the same guys year in and year out. They got to get the draft right. And now we heard word today, and I know Lion fans, you shouldn't care, but Jamison Williams, don't expect him back anytime soon. We'll play something for you in a little bit, but he's not coming back for at least a month and change. And who knows? DeAndre Swift back practicing again. We'll see where it goes with him, if he can stay healthy or not. But that's what Quinn left us. Quinn and Patricia left us with this mess, and now you got to dig out of it again. It's unfortunate that Lion fans have to do this year in and year out.
But I think that's what she meant by a complete rebuild. I think part of it was, even though guys like myself that wanted to bring in experienced veterans on the other side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, bring in some of those free agents, maybe pay them a little money, not a ton. I keep bringing up names like Miles Jack. Miles Jack currently makes $8 million for the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I was thinking along the lines of that. But if it's true, if this money is real, then you didn't have enough money to go after certain free agents. So you know what? I'll give them a little credit on that. But the thing is, it may be a new rebuild, and that may take time, but it doesn't take time to look at a situation like the Minnesota game where you're up 14 points. You were up 14 points, and you could have won that game. It doesn't take time to look at how you played when you were in New England almost 3 weeks ago. Now, it doesn't take a rebuild to look at how you played against the Seattle Seahawks, giving up 48 points. That team, it's a decent team, but they're not a 48-point team. So I think on one side is we understand it's a rebuild. You want it to be a rebuild because you're tired of rebuilding. But on the other side, you see things in which there were in-game decisions, there are coaching woes and there are player woes that could have been differences this year. And I think that's what probably is going to frustrate fans as they listen to Sheila Hamp.
Yeah, I'm frustrated altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, I applaud her for sitting there and taking a couple of questions. I applaud her. I'm just tired, man. I'm exhausted by it. I'm exhausted by giving my heart and soul to this football team and this organization and having zero payoff. I mean, there is no redeeming quality about being a Detroit Lions fan. And then when you hear it's a teardown,
again,
give me a break, man. How many times have we had to tear this thing down? And that was not the message coming in.
That's because they don't get it right. They don't get the right players.
A complete teardown was not the message. Remember when Mike Babcock was got hired to be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah.
And they asked him at his press conference what the next couple of years are going to be like, how long is it going to take? And he stood there You can say what you want about Babcock, whether he's a total jerk or not, and he was. People hate the guy. But one of the things I've always respected about Babcock is he looked at those people in Toronto, which you'd probably equate to Yankees fans, right? If you're a manager of the New York Yankees.
Well, they're close to the Lions. They haven't won since '67.
But he said, you know what, the next couple of years, pain. You're going to be pain. It's going to be very painful the next couple of years because we're going to go all the way down before we build it back up. And Toronto is playing pretty good hockey right now. Now it's been, 6-7 years since he took over. But what I'm trying to say is the message that they had coming in was not the message that we heard today from Sheila Hamp. It just wasn't.
But didn't
complete and then the compound. I'm sorry, Braylon.
Go ahead, brother.
But just to compound it, the NFC is trash. There is nobody in the NFC
they're the Super Bowl
that
champs.
you feel like have a bunch of world beaters. I mean, the Rams are a 500 team. Yeah. The Bucks are a 500 team. The Packers are no good. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, all bad. And then you see what about Seattle? What was their tear down? What's their total complete tear down? All they are is 4-3, leading the AFC West.
We showed you their draft yesterday.
So
every guy is playing.
I don't want you to tell me it's going to take time anymore because I look at what Seattle's doing. I saw Cincinnati go to the Super Bowl 2 years. The New York Football Giants in the Jets. It doesn't take long in the NFL. It is set up for you. The NFL, the National Football League, is set up for you to get good quickly. If you are not and cannot get good quickly, then you don't have the right people in charge.
Yes, she
did.
Did
she say those words, patience?
She did.
Because that is words I never want to hear from anybody in the Lions organization.
She did. She preached patience. Well, she said patience, and somebody repeated patience back to her.
She should say patient like in the hospital. That's what we're going to be in the mental hospital.
A lot of people are. Well, that's why we do the SMA reads. No, but just thinking about it, that's not what you want to hear as a Detroit Lions fan. You actually want to hear her come to the podium. To be honest, you actually want to see her get after Dan Campbell a little bit, maybe get after the defensive coordinator a little bit. The offense, maybe just get after a couple players or just the Lions as a whole. Maybe her say something to the effect that the Lions have not played as well as I thought they could have. They haven't put, I'm saying, like something like that, because we've watched the game tape. When you tell us that it's a rebuild, we understand that going into the season, Ryan's mind. We get that, right? We get it's a rebuild, but we also get it when we see, them try to give the game back to the Commanders. We get it when we see the collapse of the Minnesota Vikings game. We see it with the blowout of the Patriots games. We see it this past week in Dallas where they make mistakes that cost them the game. Going to the Jameson Williams stuff, though, that's exactly what they should see out of him. If you're the Detroit Lions fan base, you knew you guys weren't, well, with the exception of Ryan Ermanni, you knew you weren't going to the playoffs this year. You knew you were floating around 6 wins. 6 wins was going to be the sweet spot. You knew Jameson Williams was coming off injury. You knew that he was going to be on PUP. You knew that he had to get it healthy. When he's healthy, he's a guy that can be one of those transitional players for you, that they take that offense to the next level, like a Tyreek Hill, like a Devontae Adams, like a Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson. He's one of the next guys out of the SEC. So he's going to be that player for you. So if you're a team like now, that's not a good team, that's not getting to the playoffs, you rushing back Jameson Williams because your fan base wants to see him, because your fan base didn't like the pick of him being an injured player, that does anybody any good. It doesn't do you good, and it doesn't do him good, and it doesn't do the fan base good. So you put a guy out there that's not necessarily ready. But trust my words, he is going to be worth the wait.